Real talk, your company is probably spending thousands of dollars a month on content creation. Maybe you've got a marketing coordinator, maybe you're paying an agency, maybe you've got a VA that's cranking out posts. And yet, somehow it still doesn't quite sound like you or on brand. The posts are fine, grammatically correct, but when you read them, you think, would I actually say that like that? If it sounds familiar, here's what's happening. You're outsourcing your execution, but you haven't systematized your voice. So your team and your tool is guessing. Your agency is playing it safe, and you're stuck with this endless review cycle, rewriting things to sound more like you, which defeats the whole purpose of having help in the first place. Stay with me here because what I'm about to show you changes everything. Today, I'm walking you through how to build an AI content system that captures your voice, so your team can create content that sounds like you without you being the bottleneck, not generic agency speak, not let me run this by the founder one more time. It's content that reflects your strategic thinking and leadership voice without you writing every word yourself. And I'm going to show you the exact 3-pillar system that took one of my clients from spending 6 to 8 hours a week rewriting everything to 90 minutes of strategic review for a month's worth of content. Woohoo! Stick around. You're going to want to hear how she did it. Hey, you're listening to She's That Founder, the show that helps ambitious women stop drowning in decisions and start owning their CEO seat using a little AI magic. I'm Dawn Andrews, and today we're talking about building an AI content system that finally sounds like you, so your team can stop guessing and start creating content that actually represents your voice and expertise. By the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to first train your AI to capture your actual voice, not some sanitized business speak version, so your team can use it to create first drafts that sound like you, that you would be proud of. Second, you'll learn how to build a voice Bible for your team, the system that turns, can you make this sound more like me, into consistent on-brand content every single time. And third, you'll learn how to create a repurposing system that turns one strategic insight post into 10 pieces of content across different platforms without you having to write each one from scratch. Listen, this is not about replacing your team with robots. It's about giving your team the tools to amplify your voice and spread your message so that you can stop being the bottleneck in your own content creation process. I don't want you to slow down your marketing because right now, if your expertise is trapped in revision cycles, that means your thought leadership is waiting on your calendar. So let's fix that, shall we? All right, so here's a little story for you. 6 months ago, I'm on a call with a founder who's paying 3 people to create content, and she's still rewriting everything herself. She owns a 7-figure business. She has a team of 12, but she is the bottleneck for every single post that goes out. For all of the communication, not just the marketing communication, but for all of it. If it sounds familiar, I get it. Here's what she told me, and I want you to listen to this. She said, Dawn, I hired specific people so I wouldn't have to write everything myself. But every draft they send me is just off. It's not wrong, it's just not me. So I end up rewriting it anyway, and now I'm paying someone and doing the work myself. And if you can relate, I totally get it. The problem wasn't her team, and it wasn't the quality of their writing. The problem was she had never given them a system for capturing her voice, her strategic perspective, or her edge. And why would she? I mean, we are all new to this world of AI at this point, and none of us knows how to systematize our voice, which is why I'm teaching you how to do that today. She would say things like, make it more casual, or this feels too corporate, or can you punch it up? And her team would try, but they'd be guessing. And they would play it safe so they wouldn't get it wrong, which meant she would still be stuck rewriting. It's like asking somebody to cook your signature dish without giving them the recipe and then like the little hidden things behind the scenes that you know you do that are outside the recipe. They might make something that's edible, even delicious, but it won't taste like your version. Like if you're the person that adds that extra little dash of vanilla and salt to your pancakes, and you don't give them that in the recipe, there's no way they're going to be able to guess that, right? So I imagine you're dealing with something similar to that. But here's where it gets interesting. We built her an AI voice system, essentially a style guide on steroids that her team could use. And within 3 weeks, the first drafts coming back were 85% there. She went from spending 6 to 8 hours a week rewriting content to maybe 90 minutes reviewing and adding really specific examples, her own personal stories that now are in a story bank for her team to use. Her marketing coordinator told me it's like I finally understand how her brain works. I am not guessing anymore. That exact system, that is what I'm breaking down for you today. All 3 pillars, and I'm going to give you the actual process you can use starting this week. And I want to give you a caveat. There's so much awesomeness in this episode. And for those of you that are super industrious and want to pick it apart and build it all yourself, amen, sister, go for it. Do that. If you'd really like some help with it, I'll tell you more about that in the middle and the end of the episode. Okay, here's the framework. It is called the Voice First Content System, and it's built on 3 pillars. And I want you to hang with me because this is going to change how you think about content creation forever. And it is hard-won advice. This is the stuff that I have beat my head against the wall to develop and deliver for you. So here's pillar 1, voice training for AI writing, the teach it to sound like you phase. So most people and most marketing teams open ChatGPT and type, write me a LinkedIn post about delegation. Great. And I would imagine you've done that. I know I've done that. And what do you get? You get corporate word salad because it is pulling from every post ever written about delegation on the internet before 2024. And so you get the delegation is a critical skill for leaders to develop robust organizational capacity. Like, who talks like that? Nobody talks like that. And that's why everyone can smell AI content from a mile away. Here's the shift. You need to train AI to write the way you actually speak, not the way you think you should sound, but the way you sound when you're working with a client or ranting to a friend or explaining something that you're really passionately fired up about. So this is the process that I use, and I want you to actually try this while you're listening. You can pause and jump off. And if you don't do it now, do it when the episode ends. So first thing, dump 5 to 10 pieces of your existing content into your AI tool. Could be emails you've written to clients, podcast transcripts, LinkedIn posts that you're super proud of, even voice memos where you're explaining something to one of your team members. Your AI tool needs to study your patterns, your sentence structure, your metaphors, your humor, your edge, even the pauses in your speech. Then, and this is critical, you give it instructions like this. Analyze this content for voice patterns. Notice how I use short, punchy sentences, how I ask rhetorical questions, how I use phrases like, here's the thing, real talk, and listen, how I mix strategic insights with conversational tone, how I'm direct but warm, what I call the velvet boot approach. So that's what I gave my tool because that is how I describe myself. So there's a version of that phrasing that needs to be adapted for you. Seriously, pull up 3 things you've written that felt authentic, that you really feel connected to, and feed them into Claude or ChatGPT and say, study this voice, tell me what patterns you notice. And the AI will come back with observations like, you frequently use em dashes for dramatic pauses, which I do not. AI does, but I don't. You favor metaphors from everyday life. You address the reader directly as you. You acknowledge the emotional experience before offering the tactical solution. So these are some things that come back when it analyzes my voice. What comes back when it analyzes yours? So are you starting to get it? This is your voice fingerprint. Save that analysis because we're going to use it in future steps. And you and your team will use it every single time you create content. So now when you ask it to write something, you say, write this in my voice using the patterns you identified. Make it sound like I'm talking to one person over coffee, not presenting to a boardroom. And here's who's likely in the audience. Give it the details of who this messaging is for. And the result that you'll get back, the difference is night and day. Now, if you have a team creating content for you, here's how this changes everything. Instead of you being the only person who can write in your voice, you create what I call a voice Bible. And this is a game changer because it's a living document that includes your voice analysis from AI, which are the patterns that we just identified, your do and don't lists. I do say real talk. And here's the thing. I never say circle back or synergy. That's one of my do's and don'ts. Topic angles, how you approach delegation, leadership, scaling, or your unique perspective. So whatever your content pillars are, the core things that you talk about all the time, give it the details on how you approach those topics. Give it approval examples, like posts you loved, and give it the notes on why you loved it. So when you share that information, you can say, I wrote this post and I felt like it was particularly passionate. It was at a time when I was feeling really emotionally connected to this subject. Let it know that information. And then what are the rejection examples? Drafts that missed with notes on what was off. Like things that happened for me when I was building this is it felt like it was talking to everyone in the most surface level terms, that it wasn't talking to one person about one specific thing. So that's something that I changed to create my voice Bible. And here is where most people get this wrong. They think their team should just get their voice, but that's like expecting someone to read your mind. Your voice Bible is the instruction manual your team has been desperately wanting. Your team takes this voice Bible plus AI and creates first drafts that actually sound like you. You ready for the process? I'll share that with you next. So imagine this. Your marketing person opens Claude or ChatGPT, uploads the voice Bible, and says, using Dawn's voice patterns and style guide, write a LinkedIn post about the mistake founders make when hiring their first executive. Make it 250 words, include a story with one clear takeaway. Use her velvet boot approach, direct but warm. This is how I'm prompting my AI tools on the back end to deliver the content that you're getting on the front end. I just want you to see the difference between the likely approach that most people are taking when creating AI content and what gets incredible results when you actually train it. So from there, your AI tool will generate a draft using your patterns. Your team member will review it against your voice Bible and tweak anything that's slightly off and add any specific client examples you've mentioned and send it to you. You'll review something that's already 85% in your voice instead of starting from scratch or completely rewriting their work. So I'm hoping you're seeing the difference. You're not doing less because you're lowering your standards. You're doing less because you've systematized your brilliance, your uniqueness. Your team isn't guessing anymore because they've got a roadmap to be able to repeat it. And here is the bonus. Your voice Bible becomes your training document for every new person who touches your content. No more of, you'll get better at my voice over time. They will get better immediately because they have a system to follow. So here's where I'm going to be really direct with you because that's my job. I'm your coach over here on the podcast. If you're not willing to spend 90 minutes analyzing and documenting your voice patterns, do not complain when your team cannot read your mind. I say this with so much love because I know how freaking busy you are, but I'm also saying it with truth. Your team is not the problem. The lack of a system is the problem. So let's build the system. And if we're building it around your uniqueness, we need you to be active and engaged in the process. So, translation, stop asking AI or your team to, quote, write a post. Start teaching them to write like you would write. Give AI and your team your voice, your patterns, your edge. That's how you get content that makes people say, this sounds exactly like something I would say. Okay, so to recap that quickly, Pillar 1 is about creating your voice fingerprint and turning it into a voice Bible that your team can actually use. Not vague feedback, clear patterns. Okay, if you're sitting there thinking, I need this system like yesterday, I've got you. I created a free guide called 10 Ways AI Will Make You a Better Leader. And one of those ways is exactly this, using AI to amplify your thought leadership without losing your voice. It includes prompts that I use to train AI in my voice, the repurposing framework, and the automation shortcuts that save hours every single week for you and your team. And if you want to go even deeper, join our free AI for Founders community where we test tools, share what's working, and troubleshoot together. No tech bro nonsense, just real founders using AI to get their time and sanity back. So both links are in the show notes. Go grab them now. Okay, getting back to it, we're going to talk about Pillar 2 now, the repurposing system. One idea, 10 pieces. Here is where most founders and their teams are hemorrhaging time and energy. They treat every piece of content like it needs to be a brand new idea crafted from scratch. It's exhausting, it's unnecessary, and girl, I have done it. So I get ya. Listen, the founders who are everywhere, they're not coming up with 47 different ideas a week. They're taking one great idea and repurposing it across multiple formats and platforms. So here's my exact system, and I want you to think about one insight you've had recently in your business, as a business owner, as a founder, as a leader. And think about that as I walk through this, because I want you to imagine taking that insight and following the process I'm about to share. So you start with one core insight, could be a client call, could be a framework you use, or a trend you're noticing, a question you get asked repeatedly, but just one. From that one insight, using the tools that we've already created, using the voice fingerprint and voice Bible, that one insight can become a LinkedIn post with a story, a Twitter, I just can't say X, you guys, I just can't. A thread, let's go with threads. I like threads. Breaking down the pattern, an Instagram carousel showing the before and after, a 90-second video explaining why this happens, a newsletter section that you can add into your monthly, weekly newsletter with tactical steps. It can become a podcast episode deep dive or your talking points to be on someone else's podcast. It can become 3 comment-worthy responses to other people's posts. It can become a case study for your website, a client email offering a solution, and a workshop topic for a speaking gig. And that's just 10 off the top. Like, there are so many more things you can do with this using AI to help you repurpose. So you see what just happened? From one observation, you got 10 different touch points. Same core message, different angles and formats. Yes, right? Here's where AI truly becomes your secret weapon for you and your team. Your marketing coordinator or your agency can take that one insight and say to AI, take this core insight about delegation and decision-making. Create a 200-word LinkedIn post with a hook and a story, a 10-tweet thread, an Instagram caption with 5 slide ideas, a 60-second video script, an email subject line and opening paragraph, all in Dawn's voice using the Voice Bible, all speaking to female founders who are doing too much. And it does all of that in about 90 seconds. It's chilling how fast it is. Now, and this is important, your team is not just copying and pasting. They're reviewing it, they're adding your specific examples, they're tweaking the parts that don't quite match your voice, they're making sure that they're following your unique formats for how you like to construct posts and pieces of writing. But instead of staring at a blank screen for 45 minutes, they're editing something that's 80% of the way there. Your team has just gone from 6 hours of content creation to maybe 90 minutes of refinement. And you've gone from being the bottleneck to being the strategic reviewer. Yeah, I'm just going to give you like a quiet moment to take that in. Okay, let me tell you what not to do, because I see this all the time. And I've made these mistakes myself. Founders will take one insight and try to repurpose it across 10 platforms in 10 different ways, but they'll do it all manually. They're rewriting each version from scratch. That is not repurposing. That's just doing more work. And even if you're using AI to help you repurpose across 10 platforms, 10 different ways, if you don't have a specific focus for how you like to sound on YouTube or how you like to sound on LinkedIn or Instagram or any of the other platforms that you might be using your content for, if you're not training your team and your tool to be able to help you with that, you also will spend a ton of time reviewing and rewriting. Real successful repurposing means AI adapts the core message. Your team adds the specific examples, you review the final versions. You are not doing the adaptation work. That is the whole point. So here's an example of how powerful this can be. I had a founder, we'll call her Trina, tell me about a pattern that she noticed. Clients kept asking her the same question about pricing, how to raise prices. And instead of answering it individually every time, she took that one question and turned it into a LinkedIn post, a LinkedIn article, a deep dive for her personal newsletter, a short podcast episode, a sales page FAQ section, and a workshop module. She created it once and repurposed it 5 ways, and now that answer lives everywhere, scraping up that delicious SEO everywhere. Her team doesn't have to recreate her thinking every time. It's documented, it's scalable, and when a new client asks that question, her team can say, actually, she has a whole framework for this. Here's the link. One piece of information, done. Stop reinventing the wheel every single time. Take your best insights and stretch them across multiple formats. Let AI do the heavy lifting of the adaptation, and your team add the polish and the personal touch, and then you just review and approve. In other words, you're not working harder, you're working smarter, and your team finally has a system instead of guessing games. Okay, here's the last pillar. You ready? Content calendar automation. This is the set it and forget it phase. And I want to be clear, when I say set it and forget it, there's a certain amount of your content that you can plan ahead and you can set it and forget it. Once it's polished and scheduled, you can do that, but not all content. So let's be clear about it. All right, we've trained your AI to sound like you. We've built a repurposing system. Now let's automate the whole freaking thing so your team isn't scrambling every Monday morning wondering what to post. And you're not the approval bottleneck. Here's what most people get wrong. They think that content calendars are these rigid, color-coded spreadsheets that require a PhD in project management to navigate. Nope. Your content calendar should be simple, flexible, and mostly automated. So I'm going to share my approach. And with all of this, please take this into advisement to how you work best in your company and how you like to share content. So here's my approach, and I want you to think about how this could possibly work in your business. Step 1, create your content pillars. You probably already have these. Maybe you have them codified so that people understand them, but I would recommend a revisit if you haven't done that in a little while. So what are the 3 to 4 big themes that you talk about? Over here, we talk about systems and delegation, AI use for founders, leadership mindset, and systems that scale. That's it. Through those lenses, we may talk about any number of things, including the amazing concert I saw last night. But every piece of content I create falls into one of those buckets. It makes it way easier to stay on message and build authority in specific areas. And as a founder, you're likely setting yourself up to not only build your brand, but to build brand awareness so that you can bring in not only more clients, but investors for future rounds. So your marketing team also needs to know these pillars. Your whole team should know these pillars because they're not mind readers. So write them down somewhere that they can be easily shared. Can I get an amen? I hope I can. Amen. Step 1, create your pillars. Step 2, build your idea bank. Set up a simple system. It could be a Google Doc, a Notion database, a Asana board, whatever tool your team is using. And every time you have an observation in a client call, capture it there, or your team captures it there under the relevant pillar. So I do this after my client calls. If a client says something interesting, bank it. If you notice a pattern, bank it. Random shower thought, you voice memo to your team, bank it. Now your team has an endless supply of raw material. Nobody's ever starting from zero. And I hope it goes without saying that if you have NDAs, do not share your client's actual information. Adapt your stories if necessary. I just want to make sure I said that. So step 1, pillars. Step 2, idea bank. Step 3, use AI for scheduling logic. And this is where it gets cool. I'm like playing the piano with my fingers on my desk right now because it's so fun. This is the part that saves you hours every single week. And this is the part, just to give you a personal example, that helped me put together all of my Q4 topics for the rest of the year. So your marketing person can literally ask your AI tool to create a 90-day content calendar based on your pillars and that idea bank. They tell the tool, create a 90-day content calendar for Dawn, mix her 4 pillars evenly, include 1 teaching post, 1 personal story, and 1 industry hot take per week. Make sure there's variety in the formats. Some posts should be tactical, some emotional, some controversial. Schedule them for Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 8 a.m. There you go. Now, that is a version of a prompt. Over here, we always start with podcast content first. That's our core source. But you can have it be posts, you can have it be blog posts, you can have it be a talk topic, whatever it is. But the cool thing is that your tool will spit out a full calendar with specific post ideas mapped to dates, balanced across themes. And then your team can use a tool like Buffer or Metricool to actually schedule the content once they've created it. AI writes it using your voice, your team reviews and refines it, you give it the final pass, and then your scheduling tool publishes it. Just to give you like a breakdown of scheduling tools, we currently use Later over here or just schedule live in person. I'm also really interested in Metricool, but I haven't started with it yet. But the key is picking one tool and sticking with it so your team isn't jumping between platforms. Automation only works when you're not adding complexity, which means your marketing person might spend 2 to 3 hours once a week on content creation, usually in one sitting, and then they're done. And the rest of the week, they're just monitoring engagement and responding to comments. And you review that content calendar once a month and spot check posts maybe once a week. Add additional comments. If there's a hot topic that comes up, post it on the fly. But this way, you're not in the weeds and you're not holding up the progress. You are the strategic leader. So we've gone through all the pillars now, and I hope you see the difference. Your team is no longer winging it every day. They're not posting randomly and hoping something lands. They're strategic. They're aligned with whatever's going on with your brand and your sales. They're consistent, and nobody's exhausted. Okay, let me give you one more example because maybe you're out there thinking, but Dawn, doesn't this feel manufactured? Okay, here's the thing. You plan your client calls, right? I hope. You have an agenda. You don't just wing every single coaching session with zero preparation. The planning doesn't make it less authentic, it makes it more effective. And the same is true with content. Having a system doesn't make you less real because you didn't just do everything on the fly. It makes you more consistent, which means more people actually get to experience your genius and find you in the algorithm. And listen, life happens. Some weeks you will have a timely hot take you want to drop immediately. Great, your system's flexible enough to handle that, or you can just leave it alone and add that post in. But your team isn't starting from scratch every single time, and you're not rewriting every single draft. Here's what this looks like in practice. One of my good friends runs a coaching business for women in tech. She used to spend Sunday nights in a panic trying to figure out what to post for the week. Now her team has a 90-day calendar. They batch create content on Mondays using her voice Bible and AI. She reviews it Tuesday morning over coffee. It's scheduled and she's done. Last month, a news story broke that was directly related to one of her content pillars. She wanted to comment on it immediately. Her team had already created that week's content and it was already scheduled, but because they weren't scrambling, they totally had capacity to pivot. They drafted the hot take post in her voice. She approved it in 10 minutes and it went out that afternoon. That's what real automation looks like. Structure that gives you freedom to be spontaneous when it matters. In other words, automate the structure so your team can focus on the substance. Let AI handle the logistics of what should we post and when, and your team handles the execution, and you handle being brilliant and strategic. Okay, if you're sitting there thinking, I need a system like this yesterday, I have got you. I created a free guide called 10 Ways AI Will Make You a Better Leader, and one of those ways is using AI to amplify your thought leadership without losing your voice. It includes prompts I use to train AI in my voice, the repurposing framework, automation shortcuts that save hours every single week for you and your team. And if you want to go even deeper, join our free AI for Founders community where we test tools, share what's working, and troubleshoot together. No fluff, no tech bro nonsense, just real founders using AI to get their time and sanity back. Both links are in the show notes. Go grab them now. Hey, okay, we're back. Let's recap because we covered a lot of ground today. And I want to make sure you walk away with clear action steps. First, train AI to write in your voice. Don't just dump prompts in ChatGPT and hope for the best. Give it examples of your writing. Ask it to identify your patterns. Make it study you. Then create a voice Bible for your team so they're not guessing what sounds like you means. That's how you get content that sounds authentic instead of algorithmic. Second, build a repurposing system. Stop treating every piece of content like it needs to be a completely original idea. Take one great insight and stretch it across 10 different formats. One core message, multiple touch points. Let AI handle the adaptation work while your team adds that personal polish. Get yourself out of the creation business and into the strategic review business. And third, automate your content calendar. Use AI to plan 90 days at a time, and then use scheduling tools to publish it. Your team spends a few hours once a week instead of scrambling every single day. The structure gives you freedom, not constraint, and it gives your team clarity instead of constant guessing. So here's your action step. You know I love an action step, so here it is. And I really invite you to do this. Pull 3 pieces of content you've written that feel like you. Feed them into Claude or ChatGPT and say, analyze my voice patterns. Take what it gives you and save it. That's the beginning of your voice Bible. Then share that analysis with whoever touches your content, your marketing person, your VA, your agency. Say, this is what my voice sounds like. Use this when you create content for me. Just try it. Do an experiment. Try it. See what happens. I promise the first drafts you get back will be dramatically better, and you'll stop being the rewrite bottleneck. Okay, listen, everything I've just shared, I know you can build this for yourself. So pull your content, analyze your voice, create your Bible, train your team. It'll take you 10 to 15 hours of trial and error to dial it in, and some of you will totally do that. Or, just saying, you could spend 3 hours with me on a Saturday morning and walk away with your entire brand voice system built, tested, and working. Your voice map, your prompt library, your custom GPT, your workflow guide, all of it. That workshop is happening October 25th. It's a beta round, so it's deeply discounted, and I'm only doing it with 10 founders and their key employee that they want to include. So if you want the shortcut, grab the link in the show notes. If you want to DIY it, I gave you the roadmap today. Either way, just build the system, because here's the truth. Your ideas deserve to be heard. Your expertise deserves to reach more people. Your voice deserves to be amplified. But you cannot do that if you're spending hours every week rewriting everything your team creates because they're guessing at what you want. So build your voice Bible, train your team on how to use AI with your voice patterns, get yourself out of the word-by-word editing business and into the strategic leadership business. Your team will thank you, your calendar will thank you, and your content will finally sound consistent whether you wrote it or someone on your team did. And listen, if you've got a team or you're working with an agency, the system is actually more important for you, not less. Because right now, you likely are the bottleneck. Every piece of content has to flow through you for your approval, rewriting, or just making it sound more like me. That is not scalable, and it's definitely not why you're paying for help. So go get it done. Build that voice Bible because your team is waiting for it. Okay, sister, I'm Dawn Andrews, and this is She's That Founder. Now, go be that founder that shows up, stands out, and doesn't sacrifice her sanity or stay stuck being the bottleneck. See you next time, Lovey.